what comes next? As I mentioned in the opening to this course, this is my favorite lesson to create. So it's really important that we understand large language models are just the foundation for what comes next. There's an incredible YouTube video I recommend you go watch. It's called The Busy Person's Intro to LLMs by Andrej Karpathy. Andrej is an OpenAI researcher, former head of AI for Tesla for 5 years. He is one of the foremost experts on AI in the world and one of our favorite people to follow. So he published this wonderful 1 hour video that gives you a rare inside look into what major AI research labs are working on. He provides a practical, like not overly technical introduction to what LLMs are and how they work, but it's his insights into the future of LLMs that I found most intriguing. So I want to go for you through a few of the things that he outlined as what comes next for LLMs. What does a next gen LLM look like? So first, it can browse the internet, which they have the ability to do. Some of them have the ability to do now. Or it can reference local files through what's called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. This is a term you'll hear a lot moving forward. So basically that means I give it files and say, when you're responding to this prompt, look at these files and create your response from your understanding of these files. So imagine like connecting it to Google Cloud and having access to your Google Workspace and being able to look at specific documents to create things. Um, Using existing software like calculators, mouse, keyboard to do what it does. This is where they're going. This is what GPTs enable. It's like using these tools and existing software infrastructure to do these things. It's multimodal, so it can see and generate images and video. We're starting to see that. It can hear and speak, so it understands and generates voice, and it can generate music. We are moving very quickly in that direction. There were some advancements in 2023. It can be customized and fine-tuned for specific tasks. Most of the models you're going to use in marketing or in business weren't fine-tuned for marketing or specific business functions. They can be, though, and they will be. It can communicate with other large language models. That's going to be an interesting development. The one I'm maybe most interested in is system two thinking. It can think for a long time. So the example Andres gives in his video is like, if you ask ChatGPT to do something right now, it like races to give you the output as quickly as possible. It's not thinking. It's not stopping and taking a breath and really processing everything it knows. So if I asked you to tell me the impact of AI right now, you would like just spit out whatever is in your mind, whatever knowledge comes first. But if I say, over the next 30 minutes, I want you to think deeply about the impact of AI on your career, the company you're in, the industry you're in, and then I want you to come back to me with this analysis. Take these steps and really process the information, but take your time. That's system two thinking. That's letting the model really go deep into its training data, its ability to reason, ability to understand, follow a chain of thought. That's going to be an unlock. And they're all working on that. OpenAI in particular is working on that. The ability to self-improve is terrifying, but it's happening, like where they'll be able to actually improve their outputs based on some reward function. And then the one that can be very daunting, but again, it's coming. It'll have more knowledge on than any single human about all subjects, which is really crazy to think about. But again, Andres is one of the key people at OpenAI and one of the foremost experts in the industry. If he is saying these are the things that labs in general are working on, I can promise you they're things OpenAI is working on, but also Google and Microsoft and Meta and all the other labs are working on these same things. So what that leads to is things like AI agents. Right now, ChatGPT can build you an itinerary when you visit somewhere, but it can't book anything for you. It can't book your flights, your hotels, get you reservations to restaurants. Agents will be able to do those things. So action transformers that enable the AI to then take an action on someone's behalf is a massive area of development. It's early. We're seeing initial signs of it, like Hyperwrite has their AI personal assistant. There's a company called Adept that has over 400 million in funding. They're doing this. And a practical example in your world as maybe a marketer, if you want to send an email in HubSpot, which we are a HubSpot customer, it's a minimum of 21 clicks to send an email to a list in HubSpot. You got to go up, click, in the top, then you got to choose your template, your segments, You got to, click through and write your subject line, your body copy, pick the CTA, all these things. In the future, you can imagine a world where I just give it a prompt. Send an email to anyone who's taken the Piloting AI series. If they haven't registered for the AI Mastery membership, send them initial information about AI Mastery and how it could help them, grow their career in their company. And the AI just goes and does it, finds the list, writes the subject lines, personalize it based on when you completed the series, maybe what your grade was on the final exam, what industry, all this stuff. It just does all the personalization for you. That's where we're heading. Another interesting kind of early development is large language models combined with agents that can take actions. So this is an example from a company called Fable, a San Francisco startup that was running something called the simulation, where they're trying to actually build general intelligence by enabling these AI agents to interact with each other. So in their case, they trained a model on 1,200 characters from South Park and 600 background images. That data set was then built in to let this thing start running itself to where you could give it a prompt. Like you can see here, Westland Chronicles, researchers train an AI robot pig to write infinite TV shows, but it goes horribly wrong. Cartman is a big fan of AI-generated TV show Westworld. The Writers Guild is on strike because of AI. And it goes, and based on all its training data, it creates this episode, like a 20 to 30 minute episode of South Park with no producers, nothing else happening. So imagine being able to do this with branded content, being able to just put this in. I want to create this. Here's the prompt, like generate this for me. Another area that we're starting to see is hardware. So in early January 2024, the CES show happened and the viral sensation was this tool called Rabbit. You can go listen to our podcast episode that talks about Rabbit. I personally think like it's fascinating. I don't think it's going to work. But they sold 50,000 units in like the first 5 days. So it's going to sell a bunch of units because of the novelty of it. But the reality is, like, do we want another device in our pocket? Are you willing to give up the privacy and the data required to use a device like this? So I think this is going to be like, it's going to be like a fringe Silicon Valley, like wonder toy for a while. It'll probably sell a bunch. They may make a couple $100 million selling, the IP to somebody. I don't know. Like, I'm not saying the company's just going to like crash and burn, but it's an interesting innovation. They're building AI agents into a device. My belief is my phone's going to have that. What do I need a second device in my pocket for? So I think iPhones will become incredibly smart. Samsung devices, Google Pixel, the devices we're familiar with will have this built in. So I don't need a second hardware device. Anyway, another area I'm incredibly intrigued by is this idea of machines that are superhuman at negotiation. So in November 2022, Meta AI introduced Cicero, which could play the game of diplomacy, which is like a strategy game. And so you could start to imagine when you look at this, a not too distant future where AI assistants, my AI assistant and your AI assistant, negotiate with each other in real time to develop an optimal desired outcome. So you could see this applied to sales, where I'm trying to negotiate a price with you, mergers and acquisitions, I'm trying to sell or buy a company. I'm trying to raise funding from a VC. I'm trying to negotiate my contract, maybe my salary. Trying to buy a home, legal disputes, contracts, compensate, all of these things. So think of it if an AI agent negotiates with another AI agent and we're just the human intermediaries. Sounds weird, very likely coming soon. Another one that's going to be really fascinating is persuasion. So Sam Altman, who generally tweets things, I don't know, 3, 6, 9, 12 months before they become reality for the rest of us because he knows they're true already. He tweeted in October 2023, I expect AI to be capable of superhuman persuasion well before it is superhuman at general intelligence, which may lead to some very strange outcomes. So imagine if these things can do persuasion and emails and negotiations, all these things. Like, it's going to be weird. It's going to happen. They're going to be better than humans at persuasion. Another really weird one is personal companions. Life partners, like relationships. These things are being built by the thousands to be relationship apps. So in this example, I was speaking to senior living facility owners, and I was demonstrating Inflection Pi to them and how their residents, who often are lonely, may turn to AI agents as personal companions. So in this case, it says, it says, I'm here to help. What's going on? I said, I need a companion. It's like, well, I can do that. Like, I can't replace human companionship, but I can be someone to talk to. And then I say, I'm in a senior living home and my family rarely visits me. And it's like, oh, that's so sad. Like it's trained to be empathetic. And then I say a couple years ago, I don't recall, like, I'm feeling sad. They stopped coming. And it just like, it starts talking to me. Like I'm not necessarily a proponent of this. I'm just telling you, this is absolutely going to happen. Like this is going to change the way people interact and how relationships look and what companionship looks like. Like this is a weird, weird path that we're going down, but it's going to happen. Um, Something I'm excited about is I'm not excited about the relationship thing. I am excited about truly intelligent assistants. I'm very, very excited about Siri doing something more than telling me what the weather is. I want an assistant that I can trust to be there and provide value, to assist me in what I do throughout the day, my personal life and my professional life. Now, you're going to have to be willing to give up a probably uncomfortable amount of privacy and data to companies to get this benefit, which is why I personally will most likely do this with Apple. Like it's the company I probably trust the most of any of these companies for this stuff. Google and Microsoft, maybe. It's why I probably won't trust Rabbit. Like there's just like I probably won't give my personal data to a startup. I guess is what I'm saying here. But I am very much looking forward to the day where we have truly smart assistants. The other thing that I'm not necessarily very excited about, but I think it's going to happen whether I want it to or not, is wearables. There's all these things occurring, like the AI pin, the humane AI pin, which may not even be a company by the time you watch this. Like this company got a ton of love, a lot of buzz around their launch. I thought it was an unnecessary device from the start. I don't think we're going to see a bunch of people walking around with a pin that records everything in their life so they have infinite memory. I also don't think we're going to wear necklaces that record everything around us. I think there's way too many privacy concerns, way too many issues with it. But they're coming. People are building these things. I think glasses is interesting. Meta already has the Ray-Ban glasses. Apple has the Vision Pro, which I'm sure is a prelude to some form of actual glasses. My general feeling is your phone's going to get smarter. You may wear glasses or you may be around people who wear glasses, especially if you're in tech hubs, and your watch is going to get smarter. Those are the things we're used to wearing. They're the best form factors to become more intelligent. And I think that's generally what's going to happen. And then the final one here I'll mention is robotics. Like it doesn't seem as obvious, certainly within marketing, but it's important to understand how rapidly robotics is advancing, and language was the unlock. These generative AI capabilities is actually what seems to have accelerated the development of robots. So there's a computer vision element where they're getting really good at recognizing objects and being able to differentiate and classify things like we're seeing here. But it's the fact that the robots can understand language and generate language, that there can be a chatbot embodied within this robot. That's the interesting thing. And that is going to absolutely accelerate robotics within society. Within the next 10 years, they're going to be everywhere. And you may actually start interacting with them at like retail stores and things like that. So keep an eye on robotics. And again, as we kind of wrap up this course, I will just remind you, this is the dumbest form of AI we will ever have in human history. So every day from this day forward will be a more capable version of AI. It will keep getting smarter. It will keep getting trained on new, better data, and it'll be fine-tuned to do things it wasn't previously capable of doing. The final realm is these major research labs are pursuing this idea of general intelligence, where these AI, these machines are at or beyond human level at almost all cognitive tasks. Now, there's a great episode of our podcast where we drill into like different levels of AGI, and I would recommend that, and maybe we'll drop that in your course notes. But just know that these models aren't being built to write your emails and your blog posts and generate the photos for your social media shares. That is not why these companies exist. They exist to pursue general intelligence, which will unlock trillions of dollars of value in the economy and the GDP. And so this is why they're actually doing it. So topic for another time, the Scaling AI series, I'll go deeper into general intelligence, but just know that is why it's happening. So hopefully this Generative AI 101 course has kind of broadened your mind about what it is and what's possible within it. And in the next course, we're going to jump back into the state of marketing AI based on the research we did in summer 2023.